You're a funny man. You've been in the business for a long time. Do you even recall your first time hitting the stage and what kind of jokes you did?
Uh, Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely remember the first time I performed on stage. I was 19. It was in a open mic in the afternoon, which is, never good if you're doing comedy, when there's still light out. But I performed the open mic in Manhattan somewhere downtown. And I don't remember what jokes I did, but I remember my goal was if I could get one person to laugh, I was going to do it again. And I was able to get, a couple of people to laugh. And, I started, performing, at smaller places like that. And then stand-up comedy got me into acting, and which I fell in love with. And, and I stopped doing stand-up comedy when I was about 25. And I started doing comedy again about 5 years ago. And I love doing it. I love performing. Live is nothing like it. There's really nothing like the unpredictability and the intimacy of performing in front of a live audience. And I really do love performing at the New York Comedy Club in Stamford. It's a great club. It's kind of like an old school comedy club. There's not a lot of separation between you and the crowd. And I've had nothing but great times there. So I'm looking forward to being back there the 28th of February into the weekend of the 1st and 2nd.
What's the difference between, because this is New York Comedy Club in Stamford. I know that in the Village is a lot different. How much snootier are those Greenwich folks versus the people from downtown?
I don't find any difference. I really love that club. There's something about that club in Stamford, the New York Comedy Club, that just, I like it. The more intimate, the more comfortable I feel, the closer you are to the crowd. They could feel you, you could feel them. And I feel like, in a way, the pressure is on, but the pressure is off, because you just can't lie. When the crowd is right on top of you, like the way the setup is in that club, you can't lie, and you have to be on, and you have to give, and the crowd has to receive. It's a give and take, and I think that's the good and the bad and the scary about performing stand-up comedy. There is no cheating.
You say you took a long gap in between the two stints of stand-up comedy. Are there things now that are off the table that you used to talk about, or are you still the same person on stage?
Well, I'm definitely older. I definitely understand the medium more. I have more to say as a person, just because, by age and perspective. I don't think I'm really ever, as long as it's funny or as long as it's entertaining, I'll talk about it. I don't really worry about hurting feelings or anything like that. I mean, I think there's a difference between being, humorous and being, just insensitive, or humorous and just being blatantly mean. At the end of the day, it is called stand-up comedy. So something has to be, at least, you have to be going to crack a smile, if nothing else. So I play within the rules, but I like to have a good time.
Who do you get? I mean, we all walk out. We are a personality, right? You're out and about. Who do you get confused with the most that really irks you?
It doesn't irk me. The only person that people sometimes confuse me with, and I'm not exactly sure, is Woody Harrelson, but only Woody Harrelson from White Man Can't Jump. People don't go, "Oh, you're Woody Harrelson." They'll go, "White Man Can't Jump." And it's very specific. Obviously, they're not confusing me for Wesley Snipes. But for most of the time, people know exactly who I am. But I have gotten confused a good amount as White Man Can't Jump. And I think it's because I talk a lot about sports. And maybe that's the confusion, and we're both, blonde-headed, sort of big white dudes. But other than that, I'm Michael Rapaport, and people know who I am.
You're known. Many people call you a brother because you really be hanging out. Out of all the experiences that you've had with the culture, I mean, you were in a documentary with Busta Rhymes, and Beats Rhymes. No, you were in the documentary Beats Rhymes, Life and the Travels of the Tribe Called Quest. I mean, you're a hip hop fan and everything. Who introduced you to it, and how young were you when you first got your first rap album?
I was very young. My father worked at a radio station in New York City. WKTU Disco 92 was the first station in New York to play disco, and then one of the first stations that started playing rap. So I was, as soon as that record was released, I actually got a promotional copy of it, Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. And that was just like, when I heard that record, it had the 6 or 7 minute version and the, almost 15-minute version. And it was just entrancing. Like, it just was like the rest of the world was like, what is this? And where are we? And, you went to your friend's house for, to eat, and, the chicken tastes like, all the whole thing. I was just like, what's happening? I was 9 years old, so I was very impressionable. And I've fallen in love with hip hop and rap music since then, and, still love it. I don't love the music as much as I loved it, in the golden era, what I like to call the golden era, the 80s and the 90s. But, as far as, when I work out, when I'm, alone, it's still what I listen to the most.
You are a true New Yorker, huh?
Definitely New York through and through.
When you travel to other places and you hear them complain about their small cities, do you have any apathy towards their struggles with, a slowdown maybe on their highways versus being locked up on the FDR?
Well, you got no complaining. I mean, as far as traffic and being locked up in New York City, driving it's a sport in New York. It is really nothing like driving in New York City. It's like a video game. It's the only place where you really can't take your hands off the wheel and your eyes off the road, because with the other drivers, the people, the bikers, the pedestrians, like, it is totally a unique experience driving in New York. I don't drive that much in New York City, but we have traffic, and you don't know what's coming out of the side of a corner when you're driving in New York. It's a crazy experience. If you've never driven in New York, it's something that you must do or try to avoid for the rest of your life, because it's definitely a special experience.
There are New Yorkers that never get their license.
They don't need it. If there's a reason why they don't need it. There's so many ways to move around New York. Walking, the bus, the trains, scooters, bikes. There's if you don't have a license in New York at this point, there's no real reason.
You've been in several films now. Can you share your experience for your first audition? Were you nervous, or did you really go into it very confident?
I've always been a good auditioner. Some people that are great actors are not good at it. I've never had a problem with it. I've always looked at it kind of like sports. And, I get myself focused. I've never really fumbled an audition. Some are better than the others, but I've always understood the medium and never been intimidated by the medium. It's not like acting in real life. It's not like acting on stage. It's not like acting in front of a camera. It's a very specific thing, and it's really like a mental kind of thing. And you have to just, go for it. And it's uncomfortable, but you have to just kind of, you just have to do it and not pay attention to the sort of ridiculousness of it, because it is a ridiculous thing to audition, going into a building and you see other people auditioning, and it is sort of a ridiculous, necessary evil, as far as, being a successful actor. But I've always been comfortable with it.
You have a podcast, I Am Rapaport Stereo Podcast. So far, what has been more of your favorite subjects, and what are subjects that you just don't really care for or steer away?
There's nothing that I steer away from. I mean, if I want to talk about it, I talk about it on my podcast, just like similar to when I'm performing live. I love talking on the podcast about sports. I love talking about popular culture. I talk politics. I talk random stuff. I talk about, my wife, talk about, reality TV, anything and everything that's sort of at the tip of my tongue and in the front of my brain. I talk about on my podcast, similar to the way I do it on stage.
Okay. You said you're a Knicks fan, I'm assuming?
I am a Knicks fan.
I've seen you on Celebrity Roast several times.
Yes.
How do you feel about this incarnation of the Knicks?
I like this incarnation of the Knicks. I think these guys understand and are comfortable playing in New York. I think the fans know that they love playing together. New York Knicks basketball fans are very sophisticated. It's a very specific audience. We are thirsty. We are hungry for a championship team. I think we have all the right pieces to be a championship team. If I was a betting man, I would not say that we're going to win the championship this year, but we're getting there. I feel very optimistic and excited about this core group. I think they're really good. I think Thibodeau is a great coach for New York, and I like everybody we have on the team so far. We just have to stay healthy, stay together, and I think we're going to be extremely formidable coming into the playoffs.
As a Knicks fan, what do you think is celebrated more at the Garden, a really good block or a fadeaway jump shot?
That's a good question. I think that the Knicks fans could appreciate both. I think they could appreciate a great block. I think they could appreciate a fadeaway jump shot. I think they could appreciate a pass, and I think they could appreciate the pass before the pass. Basketball is the city game. The dynamic and the architecture of New York City, there's public basketball courts all over the city, whether they're being used or not. It is the fabric of the city. It is the architecture of the city, and we love good basketball.
New York Comedy Club in Stamford, 7 p.m., Friday, February 28th. Michael Rapaport brings his brand of comedy to it. He also has a podcast, I Am Rapaport Stereo Podcast. Man, you are just about doing everything and anything. Any last words for the people out there?
No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to performing in Stamford. I'm looking forward to performing at the New York Comedy Club. Like I said, I love that club. I love the intimacy of it. And it's going to be a great weekend, the 28th, heading into the 1st and 2nd of March.
Very good. All right. Go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go. Go to the New York Comedy Club also.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.